The rain had not stopped for 6 days. It drew a gray veil over the city and pressed a cool hand against the townhouse windows, until even the street seemed to whisper. Lily stood at the bay window with a mug she hadn't remembered making, watching. Drops raced themselves down the glass. Her mother's piano sat quiet in the parlor behind her, its lid closed, its silence the one sound the rain could not soften. At 9, the bell rang brisk. Unafraid, Lily opened the door to a woman with damp curls tucked into a clip, a canvas tote on one shoulder, and the kind of steady presence that made the air feel a fraction warmer. "Jennifer," she said, offering a small smile that made dimples appear and then disappear like parentheses. Lily returned, and it felt like an agreement to use first names for everything that mattered. She stepped aside. "Come in before the house shrinks from all this weather." Jennifer laughed, quick and low, and set her tote by the entry table. She was 29. The agency profile had said, experienced, meticulous. References like little bells ringing all at once. In person, she was all of those things and something else Lily hadn't seen in a resume. A way of looking at a room that was kinder than it needed to be. They walked through the house together. Lily named the ordinary chaos that had grown in the months since her mother's death. The pantry with its awkward tower of rice. The linen closet where fitted sheets had declared independence. The parlor that attracted stacks of mail the way a porch light attracts moths. There were framed photographs along the stairs, her mother beside a field of daffodils. Lily at 12 with a gap-toothed grin, each one a small door into rooms Lily could not yet stand to visit. "We'll take it one drawer at a time," Jennifer said, and the "we" was a bomb Lily hadn't known she was aching for. "No rushing. I promise not to move anything important without asking. Everything feels important," Lily admitted, surprised by her own honesty. "That's okay," Jennifer said softly, like the rain when it began. "We'll let the house tell us what needs to happen first." The day settled into a rhythm that felt like breathing for the first time in months. Jennifer lined spices facing the same direction. Labels like a chorus, she coaxed a soft gleam out of the dull walnut banister with lemon oil. She made the bed like a lake without wind. Lily kept telling herself she should go to her office in the back, but she found reasons to stay near. Sleeves rolled. Sorting a drawer of mismatched cutlery with the concentration of a jeweler. At noon, Jennifer appeared in the doorway holding a teapot Lily had not seen since her mother's last spring party. Blue willow pattern bright as a remembered song. "Found this behind a pasta maker," she said. Seemed like it wanted air. They drank at the kitchen table while the rain rode its patience on the roof. Jennifer took her tea with honey, stirring thoughtfully, her thumb worrying the handles curve in a way that made Lily acutely aware of her own hands. How still they had learned to be. How carefully they had learned not to reach. "You grew up here," Jennifer said, not prying, simply putting two true things near each other. Lily nodded. "Left for college. Came back when my mother got sick. I told myself it was temporary. Like flu, like winter." She didn't believe in unfinished things. Jennifer's eyes softened. "Care is a kind of finishing," she said. "Hard to see when you're in it." Lily looked at the teapot, at the thin steam lifting, at Jennifer's hands competent, unadorned, a pale crescent of a scar at the base of her thumb. "What about you?" she asked, hungry suddenly for details that weren't hers. "How did you learn to make a house of listen?" Jennifer smiled at the verb. "Practice," she said, "and liking it. I like that there are small tasks with clear ends. Sheets smell like sun when they're done. Silver tells you when it's finished." She glanced up, mischief a glimmer. "People are trickier. And yet," Lily said before she could stop herself, "you seem good at those too." A breath passed between them that was not quite silence. Then Jennifer set her cup down carefully. "I want to say a thing," she said, deliberate, "because it matters. I like working for women who are clear. Clear is kind to both of us. If there's ever a moment when anything about working here feels complicated, we name it out loud. We make a plan." Lily met that steadiness and felt something inside her stand up straighter. "Yes," she said, "we will." They returned to the rooms differently. As if a small lamp had been turned on in a corner nobody had noticed. In the parlor, Jennifer dusted the piano as if touching a sleeping shoulder. "Do you play?" she asked. "I used to," Lily said. "My mother said I had good wrists and poor patience." "Patience is overrated," Jennifer murmured, running a cloth along the keys with respect. "Wrists will do." In the afternoon, they opened a box of letters that smelled faintly of violets and thyme. Lily read a line her mother had written to a friend about sunlight, about stubbornness, and had to sit down. Jennifer did not say "I'm sorry" or tell a story of her own to fill the space. She stood beside Lily and made stillness into a sheltered dot. It was a small thing, and it was everything. By evening, the house looked almost the same from the street. Inside, the pantry breathed easier. The hallway mirrors shone. The piano seemed to be listening. Lily walked Jennifer to the door under the soft insistence of the rain. "Tomorrow?" Jennifer asked, curls freed by the damp, her smile a quiet thread between them. "Tomorrow," Lily said. She wanted to add something, to acknowledge the other thing threaded through the day, the way her name sounded different when Jennifer said it, the way the air shifted when their shoulders nearly touched and then didn't. Instead, she reached for the umbrella on the hook and pressed it into Jennifer's hands. "Take this. I have others." Jennifer hesitated, then accepted it like a promise. "Thank you, Lily." When the door closed, the house was not less full. Lily stood in the entryway and listened to the rain and the softened silence. She told herself not to make stories where there were only clean surfaces and cup rings, and a bed made smooth as water. But she thought of first names spoken like agreements, of lemon oil and soft laughter, of a teapot exhumed and put gently back to work. And she felt something in her chest lift its face to the weather and breathe. On the 7th morning, the rain broke like a held breath. The townhouse woke to a pale sun that laid itself across the floorboards and turned the dust into a soft constellation. Lily had forgotten how the house looked in honest light. Everything a little kinder, everything asking less. The bell sounded at 9 again, and Lily found herself walking faster than necessary to the door. Jennifer stood with a paper bag tucked against her ribs, and the umbrella Lily had loaned her drying neatly, not dripping, by her side. "I brought bread," she said, lifting the bag, a bit self-conscious. "My bus stops by the Portuguese bakery." It seemed rude to pass. In the kitchen, they sliced through a crust that sang and ate warm halves over the sink like conspirators. Butter found the corners of their mouths. Jennifer laughed and wiped hers with the back of her hand. The sound put another stitch in the day's good seam. "What feels first today?" Jennifer asked, leaning against the counter, already scanning the rooms with that patient, intelligent kindness. "The study," Lily said, surprised at her own certainty. "I haven't been able to sit there since." She stopped. The word "since" had started to mean everything. Jennifer nodded and waited. "When silence ripened," she said, "then the study, and we opened the windows. Let the house remember air." They moved through the doorway together. The study smelled like old ink and a summer that had been interrupted. Stacks of manuscripts leaned against the wall. The desk wore a polite layer of dust. On the sill, a fossil of a tea ring. Jennifer tied her hair up again with the practiced twist of someone used to working with her hands. "Before we start," she said, eyes steady, "I want to put 2 more threads in our net." She half smiled at her own metaphor. "Fridays, we check in about work, how I'm doing, what you need, so nothing piles up unsaid. And if anything about our human part gets complicated, we loop the agency in. They can help us keep the lines straight. We won't surprise each other." Lily let out a breath she hadn't noticed she was bracing. "Yes," she said, "Fridays. And now, surprises." She swallowed. "I don't want you to worry about your job if my grief or my uncertainty makes the room tilt." "I won't," Jennifer said. "And I won't let you carry my worries, either." Something eased between them, like a knot loosened but not undone. They opened the windows. The curtains lifted their hems in a shy dance. Lily held a stack of pages and chose not to read yet, just blew gently. and watched a small storm of dust rise and settle. Jennifer began with the top drawer, pens that no longer wrote, paper clips wedded to old receipts. A small tin of sealing wax in a shade of red Lily recognized from a birthday invitation long ago. On the high shelf a box sat, the kind that dared. "You? Attic ladder?" Jennifer asked, assessing the distance. Lily fetched the wooden one from the hall closet, the same one her mother had scolded as rickety and refused to throw out. "I'll go," Jennifer said lightly. "I should," Lily began, then stopped. The ladder wobbled minutely under Jennifer's. "Wait," Lily stepped in instinctively, bracing the side, her palms steady against the rung. "I've got you," she said, and the words were more precise than she meant. "Thank you," Jennifer said without looking down, and reached. For a second her foot slipped on sawdust. Her calf trembled. Lily tightened her hands. The box came free. So did Lily's breath. Back on the rug, they knelt. Inside, an old metronome, a handful of dried lavender, a sheaf of sheet music with lilies, Mother's spidery annotations, a photograph of Lily at 8 perched on the piano bench, legs too short to reach the pedals, her face alight with the smugness of a C major scale conquered. "Wrists and patience," Jennifer murmured, smiling at the photo as if the child in it could feel seen. "Will you stay a minute?" Lily heard herself ask, cheeks warming. "If I try?" Jennifer sat on the edge of the piano bench, not touching, her presence like a held lamp. Lily lifted the lid. The keys were a little out of tune in the way of things that have waited but not been abandoned. She placed her hands where they remembered and let the first phrases of something simple find their way. She stumbled at the turn. Jennifer didn't rush to fill it. When Lily reached the end of the line, the room held a layered quiet sounds ghost. Light, the faint city hum from the street. "Beautiful," Jennifer said, and meant the trying, more than the result. A knock startled them. Mrs. Patel from next door appeared in the doorway, cardigan aggressively cheerful, to misdelivered envelopes in her hand. "I thought I heard music," she said, stepping in without waiting. Her gaze flicked to Jennifer, to the polish of the banister, to the bright, open windows. "You've hired help. Good. This house needed another pair of hands." She lowered, her voice conspiratorially. "Don't let her go. They disappear on you, these girls." Something cold moved through Lily. "Jennifer is a professional," she said evenly, taking the mail. "And she's here because I asked. We take care of each other's time." She felt Jennifer's look a brief, grateful warmth like sunlight through cloth. When Mrs. Patel left, the house exhaled. Jennifer broke the tension with the gentlest weapon, instruction. "Want to learn the fitted sheet trick? It's witchcraft and geometry." They spread cotton and laughter in the upstairs hall, corners kissing corners. Elastic tamed by logic and patient hands. "May I?" Jennifer asked, stepping behind Lily to guide a fold, not assuming. Lily nodded, aware of the nearness without flinching from it, of the way consent turned closeness into something clean. By late afternoon, the study had edges again. The desk invited instead of accused. The piano, lid open, seemed to wait without scolding. In the courtyard, a small lake of sun pooled on the flagstones. They stood there with mugs of tea and watched a sparrow administer itself to a puddle. "My mother planted daffodils the whole length of that bed," Lily said. "Every spring it looked like the house had remembered joy all by itself. We can put them in again," Jennifer said. "It's still the right earth." Lily looked at her, at the person who had walked in out of rain with lemon oil, and rules and mercy. "Tomorrow," she said, and tried the word on her tongue like a promise. "Tomorrow." Jennifer agreed, and the light, ordinary and generous, climbed the wall and stayed. Friday arrived with a cold brightness, the kind of day that makes you aware of every window you own. Lily woke before the alarm and lay in the warm square of sun that had crept across her quilt, listening to the house Waco radiator ticking, a bird making hesitant decisions outside the study window. She thought of daffodils and doorways, of promises made in kitchens and kept with 2 hands. At 9, Jennifer came in with a small bouquet of parsley and rosemary tucked into a jar from The community garden, she said, smiling. The fresh, green smell lifted the kitchen as if someone had opened a second window. Check in, Jennifer asked, setting the jar on the sill like a little flag. Check in, Lily agreed. They had promised Fridays. They made tea, sat at the end of the table where the light gathered, and put their words on the wood like tools laid out for a careful job. Jennifer went first. The study feels less like a held breath, she said. The upstairs hall wants a rug runner so it stops echoing. I can train the new vacuum to behave. She paused, eyes on her mug. And I feel something that isn't work when I'm with you. Lily nodded, grateful for the shape of the sentence she'd been carrying around like a fragile bowl. I feel it, too, she said. I don't want to pretend. I also don't want to put you or your work in the path of my learning. That feels like taking more than I'm allowed. Jennifer's mouth curved, relief and caution braided. We can hold both truths, she said. We can keep the lines clean. We can decide not to touch the soft thing until there isn't a power line running through it. We'll loop the agency in, Lily added, steadying herself with the promise. We don't surprise each other. If when we decide to step toward the soft thing, we do it after you've found another placement. I don't want to be your boss. And your anything else. My work will be okay, Jennifer said, certainty simple as bread. I like my work. I also like your laugh when you forget you're not supposed to. Lily laughed then, on cue, and felt the tension in her ribs soften. Monday, we call, she said. Today, we plant daffodils. They gathered trowels and a coil of twine, a paper sack of bulbs like a clutch of moons. In the courtyard bed, the soil lay dark and promising. Jennifer showed Lily how to measure depth with the length of a knuckle, how to lay each bulb with the pointed end up, noses to the sky, she said, and how to crumble soil back over them like a secret you want to tell but are willing to keep for a season. Square knot? Jennifer asked, looping twine between her fingers, the gardener's trick to mark a row. Teach me, Lily said. Jennifer stepped close, lifted the twine in Lily's palms, and tied once, then twice. Slow enough that Lily's hands learned. Left over right, right over left, Jennifer murmured. Voice the warmth that makes new knowledge stick. She stepped back without brushing, but the space she left remembered her. Halfway through the second row, someone rapped smartly on the gate. Lily straightened, brushing soil from her knees. It was Thomas from the Foundation board, a kind man who wore his suits like they were a suggestion. He peered over the gate, bright as a robin. Caught you at home. I brought the gala proofs for you to approve. The printer's a tyrant. Lily led him through, introduced Jennifer without qualifiers. He set the folder on the patio table, already scanning the garden. Delegating, he said cheerfully, the way some people say dieting. A compliment that takes a bite as it lands. This place needed attention. Good help is hard to keep, you know. Good employers are harder. Jennifer said mildly, nodding twine with unspectacular competence, not looking up. Thomas blinked as if he'd been addressed by a painting, then laughed as though he'd meant to be generous and somehow still wasn't. Lily opened the folder, her jaw a muscle she kept uncaught. Jennifer is a professional, she said, her tone even as the paper. I'm lucky to have her working here. She didn't say for now. She didn't say until. She did not apologize for respect. Thomas hovered, commenting about fonts and the dangers of mauve, then remembered a meeting and excused himself with a flurry of goodwill. When the gate clicked behind him, silence returned like a friend. Thank you, Jennifer said, still looking at the line of newly buried bulbs. Sometimes people talk about my work like it's furniture. It is work. It's my work. It has a name. It does, Lily said, and felt the steadier ground of the afternoon absorb the small tremor left by Thomas's easy THOUGHTLESSNESS inside. A smaller crisis awaited them. A thread of water had begun to beat under the kitchen sink, patient. Inevitable. Jennifer slid into the cupboard without ceremony, knees on a folded towel, headlamp from her tote clicking on with a bright coin of light. When did you get a headlamp? Lily asked, trying to make worry laughable. During the blackout too. Winters ago, Jennifer said, fingers finding the shutoff with the confidence of someone who has taught her hands to understand. What's hidden? You learn the house by touch. She tightened a coupling and wiped the pipe dry. They waited. No further beads formed. The small relief was disproportionate to the problem. They let it beat large anyway. Teach me that knot, Lily said belatedly, meaning pipes and twine and the other complicated things. In the afternoon, the piano tuner arrived with a case like a lunchbox and ears that were almost comically attentive. He plucked at strings while Lily and Jennifer worked in the hall, folding winter blankets for the high shelf, a ladder braced by Lily's palms. The practice choreography of trust repeated in small ways until it wasn't performance anymore. It was muscle. When the tuner struck a clean chord to test his repair, the note slid through the house like light. Lily felt it in her throat. Jennifer turned, eyes bright, and for a beat they simply looked at each other in the doorway between rooms. Between one understanding of themselves and another. At tea, they drafted a message to the agency together, plain and respectful. Friday. Check-ins are working. The house is thriving. We want to discuss boundaries if personal feelings are present. We like guidance and a timeline for transition if needed. They pressed send. The message went out into the world like a small boat, with a brave little flag. Lily felt both bereft and found. At dusk, they finished the last row of daffodils. The bed lay like a promise, stitched by twine and care. Next spring, Jennifer said, pressing the soil with the flat of her hand. Yellow will knock on the door and will answer. Lily said. She stood, brushing her palms absently against her thighs, and looked at Jennifer. The day had lengthened them in ways visible only from inside. She wanted to step into that space and claim it. She wanted to not hurry. Jennifer seemed to read the whole paragraph on Lily's face. She offered her soil-smudged hand, palm up, not assuming. We can wait, she said softly. Waiting can be a kind of choosing. Lily slid her hand into Jennifer's and felt the simplicity of skin, the complexity of everything else, and how both could be true at once. They didn't move closer. They didn't move away. They stood in the doorway of the evening with dirt under their nails, and a bed sewn with future light, and the house behind them finally listening. Monday. Lily said. Monday. Jennifer echoed. Above them. The first star had the grace to keep its distance and still be bright. The agency wrote back before lunch on Monday, clear, kind, efficient. Ray, the coordinator, thanked them for naming what was true. A transition plan, she said, keeps the floor steady. 2 weeks to wind down. Jennifer would move to a new placement the Monday after next. Until then, boundaries stayed as they were. No touching, no blurring. Friday check-ins, no surprises. After the transition, their time and choices would be their own. They read the email at the kitchen table with the blue willow teapot between them, steam rising like a small, faithful weather. Lily felt something unclench that she hadn't realized had been gripping every sentence. Jennifer smiled a little at her cup. We have a shape, she said. Shapes are merciful. Those 2 weeks were ordinary in the way that made Tuesday and Thursday a matched pair. They finished taming the linen closet. They labeled the attic boxes with patience that held even when old dust pricked their throats. They taught the vacuum to behave. Every Friday they asked the questions they promised to ask, and the answers were steady. Work felt clear. Feelings hadn't gone anywhere. Waiting was still a kind of choosing. There were small temptations. On the ladder, Lily's hands found the rung to brace, muscle memory recruiting protectiveness before thought. Jennifer thanked her without looking down. Folding a sheet, Jennifer stepped behind Lily to guide the final corner and stopped. Checking with a glance, Lily nodded once, hands taut the cloth, and retreated. Consent became a path they could walk with their eyes closed. The house changed, without drama. The study invited again. Lily could sit in her mother's chair and not feel accused. The piano tuner's work held notes rang true and stayed. Sometimes Lily played scales until her wrists warmed and the room felt like a body. Waking up, Once, as she stumbled through a simple book, Jennifer paused in the hall and listened, invisible and present in the way a lamp is present, studying a corner of the dark. On Jennifer's last Friday, Mrs. Patel arrived with a plate of almond cookies and opinions about window boxes. She took in the bright, ordered kitchen and the two women standing at the table with a calendar between them. "You've done well," she said, surprising all three of them with her gentleness. "This house looks like it remembers itself." She pressed the cookies into Jennifer's hands and said, "And you come for tea." "I've got a broken latch mocking me." It felt like a benediction disguised as neighborhood fuss. The last day came braided with a nervous happiness that made the air feel new. Jennifer arrived with her canvas tote neat as always, curls pinned back, sleeves rolled. They worked. They didn't drift toward occasions. At noon, they sat with toast and honey and signed the final timesheet together, ink drying into a clean line. Lily handed over a letter of recommendation she had written in ink that didn't smudge, clear and plain, full of verbs. Jennifer set a small box on the table in return. "For when words go missing," she said. Inside was a bookmark made from a narrow length of twine. The square knot Lily had learned pressed flat and tidy between two clear strips of laminate. On the back, Jennifer had written "left over right over left" in a script that made room round each letter. Lily felt her throat fell. "I will not misuse this power," she said softly, meaning both the bookmark and something larger. Jennifer nodded, hearing what was under the words dot at the door at 5. The air was the tender kind that comes just before a season moves. They stood on the threshold the way they had begun to stand in thresholds, aware of the hinge. "Kind to it. Tonight," Jennifer said, and it wasn't a question. "7, not here. We start in plain air. The community garden," Lily offered. "By the rosemary." "By the rosemary," Jennifer agreed, and left with her tote and her umbrella and her steady walk. When the door closed, the house didn't feel empty. It felt honest. At 6:59, Lily arrived at the garden with clean hands and a pulse she didn't scold. The beds were still mostly brown, but the rosemary stood in its winter green, stubborn and fragrant. Jennifer was already there in a navy coat, curls looser, no tote, no list. She looked like a person whose workday was finished and whose evening belonged to her. "Hi," Lily said, a word that felt newborn. They stood for a breath and then for another, giving the moment the time it had asked for all along. "Can I hold your hand?" Jennifer asked, simple as a trowel. "Yes," Lily said, and the answer settled into her shoulders like right posture. Their fingers fit with the quiet certainty of a knot tied properly. They walked the gravel paths, talking about unglamorous things, bus routes, and a book Jennifer had half finished. Lily's plan for the window boxes, the notion of a rug runner. For the upstairs hall, they practiced asking and telling, small versions of big promises. When they reached the far bed, a shock of yellow caught at the edge of vision. "Look," Jennifer breathed. Along the fence line, where their knuckles had learned depth by dirt and their patience had been seated, a handful of daffodils had dared the calendar. Tight-fisted yesterday, open today, bright as declarations, shameless as joy. They stood in front of them like congregants before candles. "Hello," Lily said to the flowers, which was also to the evening, which was also to the life that had been waiting at the threshold. Jennifer looked at Lily, then at Lily's mouth, then back at her eyes. "May I?" she asked, and there it was again, the shape that had held them steady all these weeks. "Yes," Lily said. The kiss was unhurried and exact, a promise performed in present tense. It tasted a little like honey and a little like winter air waking up. When they parted, the garden had not changed. The daffodils had. Or perhaps everything had been ready to be seen. They walked home slowly, not under an umbrella, not as boss and employee, but as two women who had kept their word and made a new one. On Lily's piano, later, a melody found its right turn. In the kitchen, the blue willow teapot steamed. In the bedroom, the fitted sheet lay perfect as a lake. In the hall, the ladder leaned, harmless as a broom. By the door, The umbrella waited, on its hook for weather that might not come. The house listened and then, at last, began to sing. Subscribe and share with someone who believes boundaries make love braver.